We will start the meeting. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
William Diedzik.
Here.
James Morelli. Here. Toni Morrison. Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Jack Perry.
Here.
Jennifer Klock.
Here.
Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo. Here. Paul Chaplinsky.
Here, and I did hear from Councilman Morrison. He is away today and unable to attend. And I wanted to just acknowledge the people who are remote, Councilwoman Klock and Councilman Dietzick, and also the town attorney, Attorney Lou Martaccio, my apologies. We have the 3 remote participants. Everybody's feeling a little under the weather, and so out of an abundance of caution, they're going to participate in this hybrid meeting. If we can all please stand for the prayer and the flag salute, and then followed by a moment of silence, which I'll discuss after.
Heavenly Father, may we consider the people of Southington and always render what is right and for just our citizens. Help us to be compassionate while still seeking what is appropriate for the entire community. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please remain standing, I'd like to have 2 moments of silence. The first moment of silence is for Mr. David Kelly. Mr. Kelly was a longtime member of our community. He was, for some years, our town attorney in town. He volunteered on the Lions Club, the JC's Club, and also on the board of directors for Southington Savings Bank, for those of you who remember Southington Savings Bank. So if it's okay, a longtime member of the Episcopal Church downtown, so I'd like to have a moment of silence for Mr. David Kelly. Thank you. The second moment of silence is for Ms. Mary Serafino Morelli. Mary was also a lifelong resident here in Southington. She served 2 terms on the Board of Education and one of our first female leaders on the Board of Education. A very long and prolific Italian community member here. She was employed by the Record Journal. She did bus driving. She worked at the AquaTurf and gave so much more to our community. So I wanted to take a minute and please give a moment of silence for Ms. Mary Serafino Morelli. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Item number 2, we're looking for a motion for the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, I'm assuming the 2 ayes are yes. If there's any opposed, please let me know. Okay, then the motion passes 8-0. Item number 3, hotel tax abatement presentation, 17 West Street. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a follow-up. We originally,
Just speak into the mic.
the town council approved a new tax abatement, reapproved an older tax abatement and reissued it several meetings back. This is our first applicant for the new tax abatement. The property is located at 17 West Street in Southington. For those who don't know, that is the 3-way intersection of Marion Avenue, West Main, and West Street in that vacant plaza. It's almost like an old parking lot. And I have Mr. Perillo here with the applicant.
Mr. Perillo, floor is
Good evening,
yours.
everyone. Thank you, sir. My name is Lou Perillo. I'm the Town of Southington's Economic Development Director, and I'm here with Jay Mita, the owner of the property. Mr. Mita has received an approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission to build a 55-room hotel. He was rejected for a larger hotel on the site, which is the primary basis of the request of this tax abatement. The tax abatement is a 5-year abatement, 100% for the first 3 years, and then 50% for the following 2 on the real property only. An analysis of the property shows the benefits to the town. So for example, currently, he pays about $2,700 in property tax for the land only. The property's been vacant for over 120 years. There's never been anything as far as a structure on the site. He's tried to market it several years, came up with a hotel idea, didn't pass the first time around due to the size of the lot. It's a 1.2 acre lot on the corner of West and West Main Street. Now he has an opportunity with an approval for a 55 room hotel. The hotel is travel and leisure style. It's an Avid hotel. He's ready to go. He can, as soon as this abatement is approved, he can apply for zoning permits and whatnot, sign the paperwork to get his flag of what the hotel will be. The bipartisan Economic Development Strike Committee approved this and suggests to the council they recommend the approval as well. Just so you know, from an analysis standpoint, the personal property will still be taxed. That should be at least $35,000 a year. There will be a $7 million investment in Plantsville, 2 blocks away from the downtown. We estimate about 80 people staying at the hotel, which is an opportunity for the coffee shops, the restaurants, and whatnot for visitors. This is part of our economic development strategy of recreation destination. It's close proximity to Mount Southington, Lake Compounce. This is not a hotel for an extended stay. This is just buy the room, you come, you stay, you play. It's a great amenity for us to have with the banquet facilities that we have, Kinsman for weddings and whatnot as well, being right down the street, AquaTurf. So it's an opportunity for us. Mr. Mita invests in Naugatuck, Plainville, Farmington, has a few sites in Southington. We like to keep him here and invest his money here. So, and we're not shy about asking that. He's here if you have any follow-up questions. The tax should be about $170,000 a year once abatement expires. We, from an analysis perspective, look at hotels as some of the highest tax-paying revenue sources for the town per square foot or per acre. So to have someone wanting to invest $7 million in Plantsville Center right off the highway, he has adjacent property, so obviously he wants to maintain this in an upscale manner, and that's why, and he's here for any questions you may have. Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Mita, did you want to say a couple words, or is the presentation done before we open it up for questions?
I think that's the main presentation, but, I've owned the lot for many, many years and looking to finally bring it to some economic value and the right way.
Excellent. Okay, for the council, anybody have any questions for either the applicant or the Economic Development Director? Chris?
We had some members of the public come before us just with concerns, just because of the close proximity to an elementary school. So I'm sure you're familiar how close that is. One of the things we talked about, it looks like in your schematics that there's no balconies or any type of structure where it would create even more exposure to the elementary school setting. Is that something that maybe we can put in a stipulation for the site itself, that we don't have any balconies, facing the school ground? Is that something that you'd consider just based on public feedback?
Sure, I don't have any issue with that. It's not part of the Avid prototype, which is why we're here. If this is to be approved, that enables us to build an Avid hotel. It's not part of their model anyway.
Okay.
So there's no intention, it's not on any of our plans or theirs to have any sort of balcony, so.
Great. And like I said, it doesn't look like in your proposal here there isn't, but I just wanted to make sure we got that on the record publicly.
Absolutely.
So that it's memorialized.
Definitely.
Okay, so if when the time comes, if somebody, when they make their motion, wants to stipulate that, the facing side of the school, please feel free. On that point, Chris, I will note that we did get a communication, right, from the, I think that was it the PD? We did get a communication from one of the safety members, I think, in the community. I think it was the police department that said that they did do an analysis of it, correct?
There were no concerns, and it's important to note that this project was already approved, so you don't have jurisdiction to not approve the project. You're just here for the tax abatement side of it. So P&Z had no issues with it,
Right.
that issue.
But stipulations are still okay as part of the tax abatement, and we have, so if there's something that you want to put on there. Okay. Anybody else have a question for the applicant or the presentation? Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you for your
please.
consideration.
Well, the only thing I would say is that we've had this, I've seen this many times now, being on the Economic Strike Committee. And I think Lou nailed it when he said that if we can take something that's bringing in $2,700 a year to eventually, over $200,000 a year in taxes, and to invest $7 million in 2024, where everyone's wallets are a little smaller than they've been recently.
Bless you.
So I'm all for this. I thank you for coming tonight and filling us in on this, and so I'm looking forward. Hopefully, everyone feels the same way.
Lou, if you can just do two questions. The first is, I know you had provided us with an analysis. There is a differential in the tax between the hotel and other uses that could be approved for this that you did do an analysis for, even during the abatement part. Can you give us just some rough idea of which one is more favorable for, and then also what's the term, the number of years the abatement goes? What's that look like?
Okay, the term is 5 years. The first 3 years are 100% on the real property improvements only, so personal property will still be taxed. We did the analysis based on the 110-room Hilton Homewood Suites of about $75,000, $70,000 a year in personal property. 55 rooms, we took half for the ballpark of $35,000 in taxes. So that comes in addition to the $2,700 that we get that is not abated. So for example, if you took a Dunkin' Donuts, which is not approved for this site because it's a business use and this is heavy industrial, that would pay about $19,000 for a full Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not sure what the drive-through is. I think that's significantly less because the footprint's less than 1,000 square feet. So when you look at real property taxes, hotels are the biggest bang of the buck, not only for the real property improvements, going to be multi-level, multi-stories, but also the personal property. The other thing that you're going to enjoy is the multiplier effect. So you're bringing people mostly from out of town to stay here for either business purposes or travel or leisure. So they're going to spend money in town. So that multiplier effect of if they go to Mount Southington, if they forget their gloves or hat or whatever, if they stay here, they're going to need a place to go to dinner. These rooms are hotel rooms, they're not extended stay. There's not going to be a kitchen or anything along those lines. So it's meant, and then if you notice, some of our hotels work with lake compounds for stay and play. Same thing with Mount Southington. They encourage you to stay for 2 days. We have the other venues, which is where the strategy of recreation destination comes into play for the experiential. We want you to come down, to go to Plantsville, go to the breweries, hop on the trail, go to the coffee shops, the restaurants, see what we have to offer. Mount Southington, you have Longview Cider. There's so many opportunities to have fun here. So that's the multiplier effect. In addition to getting to your original question, very difficult to find somebody that's going to pay more than $35,000 for an acre of land just on personal property tax. When you add the real property tax to that, it's extremely hard, unless you're a manufacturer or something like that. But to fit on the value of that piece of property, we are selling property right now for about $125,000 an acre. This property, I think, was in excess of 4 times that. From a purchase, so it's not likely you're going to get a manufacturer to pay that kind of money right there. The other thing that you have to consider is we consider this a gateway because of the proximity to exit 30, the interstate highway. When you come off the highway, what do you want to see? Do you want to see a landscape company with the berms of block and material, or do you want to see a hotel that has an opportunity for reinvestment within the community? The other thing you should also keep in mind is the $7 million, there's going to be concrete needed. We have F&F right there. It's an opportunity for our local business services for paving, line striping, snow removal, landscaping, irrigation systems, sprinkler systems for the hotel, sheetrock, furniture. There's just so much that goes into a hotel, and you have to keep it fresh.
And last question is, I had heard one point one of our hotels on West Street was one of the highest occupancies in the area. Can you give us an idea? How are the hotels doing generally in town? How's the occupancy looking? I'm assuming since we're building more that there's a need, but can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'm sorry I didn't, because if you look at across the country what is going on, hotels are being either torn down or they're being renovated into apartments. Here, we're adding 2 new hotels, maybe a third. So we have one coming on John Wakesell Crossing, we have one here that's approved. So to do it in these economic times speaks volumes. So the Marriott Residence Inn, if you go by the other Marriott Courtyard that we have, Courtyard by Marriott, or the Hilton Homewood Suites, you will see a lot of occupancy, which from the industry standpoint, there's still a demand. And Jay could respond to that if you'd like further information.
Yeah, so that's why we chose kind of one of the major flags, IHG, which has a Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn Express, and a number of flags. And they also did their own research and analysis. They want the place to succeed. We had to convince them based on kind of changing the architecture to New England style and a number of modifications for the town. But they're very excited about this, and our analysis shows the same.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks
Any
so
other
much.
questions? Everybody's good? Okay, thank you. That's on our agenda for a little bit later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 4, councilperson communications. And before we start, I had a discussion, a lot of us, speaking of councilperson communications, have received a lot of communications about and been called, have been emailed about mural activity in town. The town attorney, Lou Martaccio, who's on the phone, has touched base with me. He would like to say a couple words about what the town council's role is and is not in this topic before we begin the councilperson communications and then have further discussions throughout the meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to the town attorney.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I apologize for my not being physically in attendance today. I, like most people in Southington, are aware of the outpour of concern and excuse me, and frustration related to the mural and the proposed changes to that mural. I have personally received phone calls, not just as the town attorney, but as a member of the community and so on and so forth. What I wanted to simply address is that, we have the separation of powers and what an individual landowner intends to do with his or her parcel of land, with few exceptions, is entirely up to that individual. The town council, and by the way, I'm not suggesting in any way at all that this is a good move or a bad move that Mr. Serafino is proposing. I just wanted to point out that the town council nor the town of Southington really has any input in that. Now, obviously, we all know there are exceptions to that rule. If it's a nuisance, it can and will be prevented or changed. But overall, if an individual chooses to paint his or her building or put a mural up that is not deemed to be a nuisance or in violation of our regulations, there's not a whole lot, if anything, that we as individuals or as a town council can do. And I only point that out because I'm told from the communications I've received that there are members of the public that will likely voice some frustration and concern as it relates to the proposed changes. While I certainly understand everyone's side on this, and equally as important, the right for the public to have the forum to express their opinions, I wanted to, number one, reach out to the council and let them know that for all intents and purposes, the town government's hands are somewhat tied, with the exception of what I just mentioned. And with regard to the public, assuming they can hear my comments being made, by all means, you have every right in the world to express your concerns, both pro and con, but understand that the town council and more broadly, the town of Southington does not have a whole lot of input in what, if anything, changes are going to take place there. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmatic communications are open. Who has something? Val,
Mr. Chair, thank you. So I just have a couple things.
please.
As we spoke earlier, I'd like to make a motion to add an agenda item. So I would like to add executive session. So it would be,
Number 11.
so number 11.
Or, yeah. 11.
Executive session for pending litigation, excluding press and the public, including town manager and town attorney.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for discussion. Any discussion on that?
clarity.
Please.
Just to be clear for the FOIA rules, it's pending litigation regarding the Town of Sullyton's PSAR application with the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion on that with the clarification from the town manager? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously, 8-0, to add pending litigation to the agenda as item 11, and that will make the adjournment item 12, for the record. Okay, Councilmatic Communications, the
Thank you,
floor is
Mr.
still
Chair.
yours, Val.
Thank you. So I just have one. I just wanted to let everyone know, and you may remember a few years ago, there was the dementia-friendly initiative throughout town. And it really did. We did a great amount of work. I know a lot of people I'm looking out were part of that group. So there's been a group that has started up. It just slowed down because of COVID, I think, and now people are going back to it. So there is a new initiative that is Dementia Positive Southington. And many of all the same stakeholders looking to really get education and resources and a supportive environment for people living with cognitive change and their families, their caregivers. And I think it's really going to take off again. So being part of some of these meetings. Kicking off this initiative is bringing to Southington a film called Human Forever. And it's an award-winning documentary that is going to make its debut here in the United States, in Southington. So we're very fortunate. And there's 2 screenings which are open to the public. There is a viewing Monday, October 28th from 3:30 to 5:30 at the First Congregational Church in the Meeting House. And there's another viewing on Tuesday, October 29th from 4:30 to 6:30 at Livewell. And that day, on Tuesday, that will include a panel, a pre-film panel with some experts, with people living with dementia, and the author and the activist that put this film together. And it's really a great story. It came from a 20-year-old that was a nursing student, I believe in the Netherlands, and he decided he was interested in people living with dementia, so he went to live in a nursing home in a closed unit. And he lived there for 3 or 4 years, learned what their lives were like, and then he felt he wanted to do more. So he and a friend of his, who is a filmmaker and ended up being the filmmaker for the film, the young man who went to live in the nursing home wrote a book called Housemates, and that book became a bestseller. And then they traveled around the world to determine what other countries were doing for people living with dementia. And so the documentary called Human Forever is all of this together. So I'm looking forward to seeing the film. I just want to let the public know that the 2 filming events are open to the public. And Paul, we had spoken earlier, there's going to be a summit on October 30th, and that's by invitation only. That's at First Congregational Church. I'm not able to attend it. The committee would love if there was a council member that, could be there. It is in the morning, I believe. I can get the exact times, and I know many people are working, but I just wanted to put that out there. If there's anyone that is available to maybe attend that.
Wonderful. Yeah, you'll get me that information, Val,
I'll get it.
and then
to
we'll
you.
get it to the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask Val a question? Val, if you're unavailable those 2 evenings, because I'm interested, is it streaming someplace? Can you rent it? Is it on any of the platforms like Apple TV or Netflix or anything, or you don't know?
I don't believe it is yet. Jolene, do you do you know?
We can probably get you a special invite. They're being very limited with it because it's not on mainstream stuff, but we can probably get you that link.
We're here on one of the nights. All right, it's the 28th, it's 2 weeks from tonight.
It's actually, so it's 3:30 to
30th?
5:30
Oh,
that
shoot.
day, so, yes, us retired folks can go.
I was gonna say, it must be nice, Val. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try to get to one of those, though.
Okay.
Okay,
but
thank
it-
you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Val.
I'll do what I can to do that. Yeah.
Oh, great, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Chris?
I've got a couple things. First of all, an official report for the Apple Harvest Festival will be soon to follow, as we just wrapped up on Sunday. But tonight, I'd just like to thank especially Dave LaPre and Lara Nichols, our festival coordinator and assistant coordinator, along with Melissa Kakuza, who's our sponsorship coordinator, all civic groups, charitable organizations, residents, sponsors, volunteers, town departments, for another successful Apple Harvest Festival. The weather, we couldn't ask for better. Over the last 2 weekends, we deserved it after the last 2 years. Many of you remember, looking out in the audience. So it really was a great event. What a great way to bring our community together. And again, it's not just about the 2 weekends, but about all the good that goes into the community, the investment that goes into our community over the weekends, because that money is invested back in through scholarships and other charitable donations to the community. So thank you to everyone for the festival. Just a reminder to the community, the Red Ribbon Rally, the annual Red Ribbon Rally, will be 1 week from feels like a Monday, but it's not Monday.
20th.
Next Monday from 6:45 to 8 p.m. on the town green. This is where we ask members of our community, especially middle and high school students, to come together to stand united against any type of substance abuse. So again, that's next Monday, 6:45 to 8 p.m. on the town green. A couple updates from STEPS, just to share out. As you remember, the STEPS Coalition has rewritten some curriculum that's being implemented in the school. So we've already implemented 2 curriculums that are being delivered in our elementary schools. So the group is about 3/4 of the way done writing the 3rd curriculum. We are also selling that for royalty for the coalition, for the sustainability of our coalition. We're training 5 more New Britain police officers and 3 more Southington police officers in the C3 curriculum that's being delivered. And those lessons are being delivered directly into the classroom. Finally, for STEPS, you might remember quite a while ago, we shared the Youth Council has a promotional campaign called It's Not Cheesy, to talk to your children. And that really was a campaign developed from the youth that are part of STEPS. That just won that just won the Silver Awards at the Muse Awards. So the Muse Awards is a international creativity awards. It's a prestigious international advertising award program. So the fact that Southington is represented, number one, with our curriculum, that all these other communities in town are willing to invest in that as well. But now to be recognized really nationally, internationally, for something our youth council does is really worth celebrating. So just wanted to share that great news. Last, just a reminder to our residents, we have a referendum question coming up on Election Day regarding our roads, and several residents have reached out, and I know we in the council have heard a lot about the dissatisfaction with the chip seal, and I just want to make it clear, many residents that might have been opposed to this feel it's because we're going to put more money in the chip seal. So just to be clear, we've moved away from chip seal. We're not using the chip seal method anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, no, you're absolutely correct. Yep, it's Cape
We've
Seal.
moved to Cape Seal now, which is somewhere between the full mill and overlay and the chip seal process. So it allows us to do more roads, and we know all of us hear a lot from our residents about the road and the road repair that's in need in our community. So hopefully with this investment, we could get even more bang for our buck and repair even more roads in town. With that, there's also, right on our Southington website, there is a list of all the roads currently with the plan of when those roads are scheduled to be rehabilitated.
We're
So,
hoping late spring.
great.
Yeah.
And if it's okay, I can add to that as well.
Sure.
Just for those who may be interested, previous referendums, we have had requests that have passed referendum for 10 million for roads for the 4-year term that we would be using that money. This year, because we've heard such significant feedback and we're seeing that the roads have deteriorated, we're requesting 15 million, so an extra 5 million. On top of that, we also realize that prices have gone up as well, so we're fighting to deal with the inflationary costs of doing the roads. We're combating the inflationary by asking for more money to do more, but also, you talked about the Cape Seal. There has been some question about that, and why are we doing some of the roads that maybe don't need it as much as the others? Earlier this year, we had the head of Public Works, and at the time with the Director of Engineering, came out and presented that in order to catch up in a, say, few-year period, the strategy shifted a little bit from just paving the worst roads and taking the worst roads that we have and only paving those. The shift is a significant piece of the pie will be spent on those worst roads, and at the same time, in parallel each year, paving some of the moderately deteriorated roads. The thought is, if we can pave those moderately deteriorated roads with the Cape Seal, which is a smooth sealing process, you can see Pleasant Street has some of it in the areas that was moderately deteriorated. That smooth process looks just like a regular paved road, and what that'll do is it'll allow us to pave more linear feet or more mileage with that, and slow the deterioration down so that we can catch up with the poor condition roads. That's the overall strategy. Time will tell as to whether it works, of course, but the professionals who do this for a living have scanned the roads, given us indices for each road segment, and that's the strategy that we're employing here for this request for the referendum money. Just so everybody knows, there was a question out there. There are no monies left over right now from the last referendum. We usually go, the 4-year cycle, and then we request more money. So we have depleted the entire road fund as of the end of this paving year. This council is asking everybody to kindly consider supporting the referendum so that we will have funding to continue paving the roads in the future. Okay? Using bonded money. And that's the other question that came up is why is the referendum? We're doing it because our town charter requires that when you bond money like this, and we go for municipal bonds to pay for these things, we depreciate these costs over 10 years. And so we spread that cost over 10 years, and that requires a public referendum for that money, over $1 million, okay? All right, Jack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So to, I guess, build off of the Cape Seal, over on Andrew Street, over where I live, they did the Cape Seal, and I usually don't go home during the day, but I ended up going home that one day that they were doing it, and they did a great job with the traffic, and I did have to drive on a little bit of the chip seal before they did put that fresh layer of pavement, but I can say that overall, I'm very impressed with how the Cape Seal process went, and it literally looks like new, pavement in those areas. You couldn't tell that there's chip seal underneath, but like you stated, the grading of the roads, the chip seal needs to happen to give a better base so that then they could put a thin layer of the asphalt on top.
And it happens all in one day, a day to the second day,
I think
and
it
they're
was-
cleaning in between and after.
Yeah, I think
with
it was
sweepers,
2 days, and then I heard them one night, I think, scraping up grinding the lines, because they have to go down the road and
Yeah.
take off the paint before they start that process to make sure everything bonds properly. So overall, I was very impressed. I reached out to the town manager when they were doing it, and I gave him my feedback as well, how it went. So I'm very optimistic that will help us catch up. On another note, last Friday, I had the honor, as well as Mr. Palmeri and Chair Chaplinsky and our town manager, Alex Riccadone, to serve as celebrity waiters for the 25th Annual Ladies Luncheon. And it was another fun year. Everybody had, I think, an overall good time. So thank you for all that have helped with that for such a great cause. And then moving on to something, I guess it's a little personal for me. I wanted to give a shout out to the Southington Fire Department. My younger brother was at an Empower fundraising event, and they ended up auctioning off a ride to school in a fire truck. And my brother bought it, got it from my son, and my son goes to the YMCA daycare program, the Jumpstart program, and we set it all up for his birthday because that was his present, and the Southington Fire Department, did a phenomenal job, and I think it's noteworthy that it's also a good cause. The fire department's not always doing this, but, Empower is an organization that helps, with kids that have lost a parent. So I think it's very fitting, that donation that they got from the fire department, because again, it's supposed to be helping raise money for, an organization that helps kids that have lost a parent, which is very, obviously traumatic. And then lastly, I just want to thank the town manager for reaching out to me, I think it was last week, in regards to the fuel contracts that are coming due. Our consultant ended up, going out for numbers. He brainstormed with me, and I suggested them get another quote from another fuel supplier, Stanta Energy. They're one of the largest rack holders in the state of Connecticut. As owning HQ Dumpsters and Recycling, we went through hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel, so I always tried to watch the dollars and cents. So it sounds like there's going to be an additional $12,000 in savings, so I want to commend the town manager for going over and beyond, and it's only $12,000, but at the same time, it will add up, those little efforts to be hundreds of thousands, and eventually millions, which, again, we could then spend in a more proper way than just wastefully. So I want to just thank him. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago with Councilwoman DiPaolo and Chairman Chaplinsky to work with Community Services for the, there's so many different names. It was the Operation Stay Warm program that Community Services runs, and it was a wonderful morning. We spent a couple of hours. I mean, I think I probably did the best. No, I'm joking. Val was wonderful too. But it was so great being there and helping our community. And I was a salesman for the day. Handing out jackets and coats, and it was so great. A lot of folks came in with children. It was so great to see their smiles. Everyone knows I'm a jokester, so we had a lot of fun with everyone that came in. So I really appreciate what Community Services does, and it was a pleasure working with you both that day. Really had it. You go home and you reflect, and this is why we do what we do, right? I mean, to try to help the community and to make sure that people don't go without. Winter's coming. We can feel it the last couple of days. It's been cold. I still won't wear a jacket, but it's been cold, and so those jackets, I'm sure, came to good use over the last couple of days. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's it.
Thank you. And I see here in the meeting today a lot of volunteers in those who are here for the meeting, who are day in and day out helping causes like Bread for Life and Community Services. So thank you all for the work that you do, helping those most in need in our community. It was really a heartwarming morning when we did the Operation Stay Warm, and it continues to go on. So for those of you who are watching and would like to maybe contribute, Southington Community Services will still accept gently used, and new jackets, hats, scarves, gloves, blankets. If you have something that you would like to donate, it's not too late. The Operation Stay Warm is still going to go on here during the next month or so. And so please consider bringing some of those items that maybe you thought about donating down to Community Services. And Community Services will go through them. They will clean them, make sure that they're ready to go. They're tagged, sized, and they will deliver them to the Stay Warm volunteers to be given out here in the weeks ahead. So please consider that if you can. Okay, I hope everybody had, we had a few holidays this past weekend. Special shout out, especially to our Jewish community this past week or so. We've had 2 holidays. So I'd like to just acknowledge that we're thinking of you in the community and hope you had a good holiday. Lastly, on the leading ladies, I just wanted to give a shout out to Beth Smedick was the keynote speaker, one of the founding ladies of the leading ladies during the 25 years that they've been in existence. So congratulations to Beth on being selected. And also I'd like to give a thank you to Sherry Dinello, who worked tirelessly. This was her first year taking on the responsibility to make the event happen this year. And so we thank Sherry for finding the volunteers, reaching out to all of us, and organizing the whole event. It's such an important event to recognize the ladies in the community. So thank you to Sherry, and we hope you continue to volunteer in the future for that. Okay, with that, we will, if there's no others, anybody else for Councilmatic? Okay, so we're going to close councilperson communications and move on to item 5, report of special committees. The first item is self-insurance, which I think Councilwoman Clark, I believe, is going to give that.
Yeah, so for self-insurance, we are only a couple months into the new policy term and running slightly under expected. However, it's really too early to tell because there's just very little data to go off of. So as the data keeps coming in, we're able to make some better decisions. We do know that our insurance broker is working on a replacement for the heart and hypertension coverage, and I'd like to refer that to our town manager for an update on that.
Okay.
I've got a great update on that. So Anthem, our insurance broker and Anthem notified us approximately 6 or 7 weeks ago that Anthem was dropping all coverage for plans under 50 participants. We have about 34 to 36 participants, and so we were cut out. We, in the state of Connecticut, Department of Health approved this. They applied at the beginning of the year. DPH approved it in early September, and we were notified shortly thereafter. We went back to our insurance broker, Joe Spurgeon, and he was able to shop the plan around, 38 participants, 38. He was able to shop the plan around and actually get a new plan, which has a little bit slightly robust benefits through the Hartford insurance carrier. And the cost is, don't quote me, but it's about a 50% reduction in price from what we were paying with Anthem. I asked why we didn't do this previously, and the reason why we didn't shop it previously was our contracts, typically were police and fire, retirees, required us to have the Anthem plan and stay with the plan that the town had for its primary administrator. So we didn't. At this point, that's an impossibility because we can't abide by the terms of the contract. So we're allowed to go shop and find something that's equivalent, but this is actually a little bit more robust and almost 50% less. Our broker says he has no problem getting this up and running by the first of the year. So those 38 folks who do pay attention very carefully, they got letters saying that their insurance was being canceled at the first of the year. Nothing to fear. They will be fully covered as of the first year with a little bit of better plan at a much lower cost to the town.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Councilwoman Clark, is there anything else from your side?
No, thank you, town manager.
Thank you. Any questions? Jack, please.
Thank you. So I think it's just important to also highlight a couple things for the self-insurance. Fiscal year 23-24 came in at $1,913,325, lower than projected, but it is 4.62% higher than the previous year. And then our current balance is $8,544,483. Minus the IBNR liabilities, which we do not have at the moment. So self-insurance is doing good, and hopefully it, like Councilwoman Clark stated, hopefully it continues on a lower trend because we did see a big spike.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Perry. All right, moving on. Any other questions? Self-insurance? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to transportation, which Councilwoman DiPaolo or Councilwoman Clark. I'll leave it as a jump ball for either of you to.
I can.
I can.
Go ahead, Jen.
Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, I would say that the committee's been hearing from stakeholders. They're giving presentations. We've given them some questions to answer. So we continue to hear from the stakeholders. We did discuss whether to do a survey, but we felt that if we're hearing from the stakeholders, there's probably no need for us to do a survey. And then I think the next steps will be starting to look at microtransit, paratransit, issues.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else, Jen? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to give that same exact summary. We continue to hear feedback from stakeholders, which has really been important because we're getting real feedback on a number of different needs. Our last meeting, we heard from Southington Community Services, the ARC of Southington, and RSVP. We're getting a lot of great information, so we're going to continue to do that in lieu of the survey so we can assess what the need is and possible solutions to that need.
Wonderful. And I did get I had a couple people at a couple events recently in the last week or so who approached me and said, thank you for having the transportation committee. So I wanted to extend a thanks to all those who are participating and everybody who's providing input. I see that we also have somebody here who participates on the committee, a couple people that are in the audience. So thanks everybody for who's working on that. I think the goal of trying to provide smart transportation to as many as we can in the town is important. It's being well received by the community, so thank you. Okay, questions on transportation? Okay, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had our meeting on Wednesday, October 2nd, and it was kind of a brief meeting, but some of the issues that came up are actually on for action later tonight. It's that time of year again, picking up leaves and shoveling snow. So we're going to be talking a little later on about bids for snow and leaf pickup. But the other point of issue that we discussed at length was downtown Plansville. I know there are a lot of questions, there are a lot of concerns about downtown Plansville. I'm delighted to say that things have kind of been somewhat buttoned up down there, even though there is a lot of construction. But the construction companies and the police are doing a great job ensuring that businesses are accessible and traffic is directed correctly. With the additional issues that have occurred down there, some of the things that we did not know getting started with ties and trolley rails under the street, it's going to extend the project, and the new completion date is actually next June. The Public Works Committee did make it very clear that if we do get a mild winter, that they'll start earlier than their typical end of March, early April. So if the weather's nice, they'll regroup probably, hopefully, in late February, early March to try to get it done as quickly as possible. But it was confirmed that the sidewalks should be completed by this year's end before we get bad weather for this year. But like I said, we're going to talk about leaves. We're going to talk about snow a little later on, the bidding process. And there's another issue we'll be talking about a little later on about an additional alternative route for the trail over by Yard Meadows. So more to follow on that in later reports.
If I can add on to the Plantsville, you had mentioned June was the end. Mm-hmm. I think most people are going to see a substantially completed area in the main part of the downtown, West Main Street, North Main area, Dunkin' Donuts to Summer Street, and turned on to South Main by the first week in November. So weather permitting, the final paving, the final grading and everything in those areas in the main part of the downtown should be done by the first week in November. It's really punch list items, any final issues with sidewalks and South Main Street that will be the focus of the spring. Questions for Public Works? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Okay. Library Building Committee, Mr. Vice Chair Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My report is really brief. We are on schedule, on time, nearing completion of the new construction, and we anticipate that the library will open to the public in the first week of December. The date hasn't been set yet, but we're working toward that. That's my report.
Excellent. Questions on library? Please, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the public's knowledge, the library will be shut down temporarily for about 2 weeks between the old building being moved to the staff, personnel, and equipment being moved from the old building to the new building. Staff will be working in the building at that time, but it's going to take about 2 weeks to switch over, so just please plan accordingly. And we're waiving all late fees and all that good stuff, so no need to worry.
Wonderful. It's coming along great. Questions on Library Building Committee? Okay, hearing none. Item E, open space. Councilwoman Clark.
Yeah, so October was a busy month. We continued our maintenance and enhancements for our open space parcels. We had a truly wonderful day at the unveiling of our Curtis Educational Panel that details the pro-abolitionist history of that parcel. If you get a chance, visit it. It was wonderful. Tom Curtis came with artifacts. We had nice discussions and a chance to view the not just the panel, but enjoy the parcel. And we also had two events that were successful in celebrating farm heritage in our community. One at Leaf and one at Rogers Orchard in partnership with the Barnes Museum. Both really great events. Thank you to everyone who came and attended, and special thanks to the farm families that contributed, and also Christina Volpe, the curator of the Barnes Museum.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for open space? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to sewer. Councilwoman DiPaolo is going to give us an update on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we just had our meeting last week, October 10th. Finance Director Jim Bowes attended the meeting. He provided us with a summary of the sewer fund, the unrestricted reserve balance, pretty much where we stand in relation to our policy, projects that might be coming down the pike. We agreed that he's going to come back. He's going to provide some more information, maybe over a 5-year period, so we can really look at the unrestricted fund and the reserve balance and see what we want to do with that. So that was excellent to have him.
Excellent.
To have him there. Everything else is the projects are moving along. Sewer lining rehabilitation work is moving along. The PCB remedial action plan. And the 3 pump station project is pretty much completed, just punch list items right now. And that came in about $350,000 under budget, so really good.
Wonderful.
Nice to have that. So, thank you.
Questions on the sewer topic? Anybody? Okay, hearing none, I think that concludes report of special committees. Just a quick question, I think, will we put apple harvest on? Will we be ready for the next one for a report out? What's the timing you
Probably
think
not,
for?
because we don't have a meeting until the 1st of November.
So it takes a couple months also to go through the numbers and finalize everything, and, okay. Thanks, everybody, for all the work in the subcommittees, those who are giving the updates and everybody who's putting their time in on those as well. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, Town Manager's Report and Communications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Finance met on October 9th. Minutes are in front of you. The main thing that they did was they went over all of our capital expenditures to date, everything that's been encumbered, everything that's been planned, and they kind of scrubbed everything and asked Mr. Bowes of what the status is. So just note they're doing a great job of seeing where all the money's being spent and such. Any questions on the Board of Finance?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Please.
So, Alex, can you, on page, I think it was page 8, where they talked about the tennis courts.
Yes.
So can you kind of go through that a bit?
Absolutely.
I knew I was going to bring this up.
I do. I'm with you.
So because I guess is there some confusion that the tennis courts were already considered a priority, right? Along with the bleachers, the press box.
I'm going to take responsibility for that. I
just want kind of, so I'm not reading this.
Are you looking for the explanation of why the BOF did what they did?
Yes.
Absolutely, I can take it, unless you'd like,
Please.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
You guys want to arm wrestle?
So on the agenda was a motion from Superintendent Medancy to transfer leftover money from the high school paving project, which paved the front parking lot and a little bit of the back. And there was about 90-something or 73-something left over in that budget. In the capital plan, the tennis courts are in there. They've significantly deteriorated over the past couple of years. They were done approximately 12 years ago. They were not done correctly when they were initially installed. I don't know what happened 12 years ago, but they either weren't inspected correctly or they weren't spec'd out correctly, but they keep cracking. They're supposed to be high tensile pull wires underneath the concrete to keep them really sturdy. They've been patching them year after year. They've spent some years $30,000, some years $80,000 resurfacing those cracks. Most recently, a significant number of cracks have come, and they actually had to shut down almost half of the courts to the public and to the tennis teams. So the boys and girls were able to play this in some of those last year. So they are a public, the public does use them. So it's not just the school children, it's also the public. So the superintendent is looking to do an RFP for an engineering firm to design the new tennis courts. And it sounds simple, but there really is a lot to do. Right now, they're not ADA compliant, so there's nowhere people who have some disabilities or abilities can't get to a bleacher. They can't see their grandchildren or their children or their friends play. So that needs to be incorporated. There's also a Eversource gas line directly adjacent, I believe, to the south side of the courts. So they're looking at shifting them to put rooms for bleachers and for some handicap parking. They don't know how they're going to do that now, so there needs to be a full re-engineering of that parcel. They're also thinking about possibly taking some of the fields that are right on Pleasant Street and putting some additional parking there, so folks want to go see the girls softball. They'll make some ADA compliant parking there, and so it makes it easier for everybody. But to do the RFP before they can issue it, our town charter says the funds have to be available. The BOE doesn't have the funds available to pay an engineering firm. So before they can issue the RFP, they need funds that they can spend.
So that's my question. If there, well, one of my questions was, how much did the Board of Ed have left over? So it sounds like, but that's not enough to cover.
It's probably more than enough. They just want to shift the entire thing over to the project. So whatever they don't use they don't know what it's going to come out. It could be 20,000, it could be 70,000.
Right.
But they want to make sure that they have it in place. They don't need it for more paving. The paving's done. So they want to shift it into the new account where they can do the RFP and figure out how much they actually need for that engineering costs. That's what they're trying to do.
But it sounds like the Board of Finance didn't want to do that.
My understanding, and I'm trying to reach Chairman Leary to discuss it, but I think the issue really was we should have had somebody at that meeting to present the need and the priorities at the field.
Because it's been set as a priority.
It's been set as a priority. What they want is, there was a referendum on the larger complex, which had a lot of wants, not necessarily safety needs, but a lot of wants. And so I think the Board of Finance wants to see where do some of these safety issues fit into the overall theme, because they want to ensure that the funding that we're putting on is truly on the safety needs and not the wants.
Right.
On the needs and not the wants. And the issue was there was nobody there to really answer those questions. We prioritized 3 or 4 items between the Board of Ed and Town Council, as you all know. It was the softball field for the Title IX. It was the track, because the track had potholes in it, and we missed track meets, and the community's walking on that regularly. That is now taken care of.
And the bleachers.
The turf field itself is funded, so that's already in the capital plan for next year. And then the bleachers are already in the plan. So those are already funded through the actions that we have all taken across the boards. This was the last item that is in our capital plan, but we were looking to pull it forward because of the fact that now we have significant deterioration in the courts, and we've lost 2 out of the 2 courts this year because they can't repair them. The cracks are so big that it's just not safe for them to play on it. So we've lost 2 courts. I expect we're going to lose more over the winter. Unfortunately, now this will probably cause about a 3-week delay till their next meeting. And that 3 weeks is important because we got to get the engineering work done so that they can be put out to bid, and we could look at how do we fund it.
Right. Well,
So-
that was my concern. My concern was the amount of money, if it was there, but the delay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please.
The chairman was looking for an updated priority list from the Board of Education.
Exactly.
Because the list that he had, and again, as the chairman said, the $17 million wasn't passed, so he's very cognizant of the taxpayers want safety and not wants. So he wants to make sure that he has the most current, up-to-date prioritization list from the BOE, so that's what he really wanted to see before they pushed it forward.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's not an issue. You know, I think otherwise, we're going to have a hard time with keeping the tennis courts open next year for the school and the community.
Well, in community, too. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many people that use the courts.
Agree.
And they're trying to incorporate some pickleball in those as well, so this way we can use dual use
Yep.
with the lighting.
Yep. Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on those? I'm going to go pretty quickly through the rest of them because they're all interrelated, and I do want to just get ahead of this. I know in the past, Mr. Perry and I know Mr. Del Santo have had concerns over the way we've done our bidding for our leaf services and our plowing services. So this year, we had an interim director of the highway department step in about 5 days before the bids were due. So he jumped right in. He didn't have the bandwidth to redo the bids to the specifications that the town is looking for. However, I did speak with the director of the Public Works Committee, the chairman, and he's instructed me to have town staff redo the bidding process, the spec sheets, the bid itself, and then he wants that to be vetted at Public Works early spring before we do the next go-around. So I'm appreciative of that, because I know there have been concerns for, I believe, 2 or 3 years in the past. So, that being said, the first bid you have in front of you is a recommendation from Mr. LaPre, our interim director, for fall leaf pickup and vac-all rental. Again, as in years past, all the bids are recommended to be taken in order of least cost to highest cost. The least cost was typically Shaw Vac for the vac-all with the operator. Any questions on the leaf pickup?
Just a comment.
Please, Chris, yep.
I was just surprised to see only one local bidder. You know, it's disheartening when we don't have, we can't give the work to some more local firms. Are they just not bidding, or?
It's my understanding that the equipment is very expensive, and that is one of the impediments, but Mr. Perry would probably know, to be candid, much more than I would, why the bids aren't coming. Do you know, Mr. Perry? Any idea? Is the equipment, I know the equipment is very, very expensive.
So it's for the leaf stuff, it's specialized equipment. The town has been buying back-all units that actually shred the leaves now. So we've used less contractors year over year. So I think the contractors know that, the hours aren't there. So in the cost of the equipment, they're using vac-all trucks that are made to clean sewer drains or catch basins, so they're sucking up the leaves whole. So they don't get the same capacity. So I think long-term we'll watch this kind of fade out, that we'll be able to do this all in-house with the proper equipment, because nobody's going to go buy the proper equipment to do leaves that shreds them for 4 to 5 weeks of work, because staffing and trucks and all that. So if you look at other towns, municipalities, town of Plainville, they do it all in-house. I like their method even better. They use tow-behind units that fill the trucks. When the truck's full, they dismount, an empty truck backs up, and that unit continues to grind. The town of Southington's units are self-contained, so when the trailer is full, they stop sucking leaves, they gotta go dump. So you get a lot of downtime. So it'd be nice to see us to, when we add more equipment, maybe try the different, types of equipment and techniques to really fine tune it and, internalize it.
And that's the ultimate goal, right? Is for Southington to purchase their own equipment so we don't have to depend on bidders. And we could use our own people, our own labor.
Control it.
And, yeah, right, we control it, right.
We had a problem hiring people to do this in the past. If you remember over the 3 or 4 years ago, we had problems getting people staffed, so we
On that-
consciously purchased the equipment.
And on that bid, Mr. Chairman, there's a significant savings from last year. If you look at the temporary labor, the bidding worked great on that. It's almost half. The lowest bidder is almost half of what the highest bidder was, so the bidding worked really well on that.
Cool, thank you.
Now, I got a quick question. Did some of that come from the new bidding software?
This was on Planet Bids. However, I still got handed envelopes the morning of the bid.
We'll get them there.
We'll get them there someday.
Next year, maybe we should consider making it mandatory, but we gotta see.
I'm considering.
Well, I think it's important to highlight that, being able to submit a bid electronically and it's sealed, it's time-stamped, it's safe, then again, nobody could say, my package or my envelope may have been opened prematurely or whatever. So I think it actually makes everything more transparent.
Thank you.
The second bid in front of you is the recommendation for snow plowing. Again, same format as the Leafs. We do have a few more bidders on there. Again, everything is descripted out there, and Mr. LaPre has it in order from his priority to his number one priority to use to his last priority as far as calling in the additional equipment. Any questions on snow plowing?
I just want to kind of highlight one thing on it. It doesn't seem like any of the equipment that, bidders are bidding with is getting any newer. There's one truck that is 29 years old, and we all know what a vehicle was 29 years ago and what it is today is, night and day. So I do want to commend the Public Works, when we see those big bills come across or in the town budget for, the snow equipment, it's the reason that you're not seeing anybody with newer equipment is how expensive the equipment is, and our winters have been more mild. So it's nice to see us investing.
Don't jinx it, please.
Might knock wood.
Within that bid, I also had all the snow removal equipment from the streets and the parking lots and the school access walks as well. They were separate bids, but they were in the same packet. And again, for the school access walks, those are, for the public, those are walkways that the Board of Education has deemed essential for children who are walking to school, and the town maintains those as well as taking care of the construction and the maintenance for cracks of that nature, and also takes care of the snow and ice removal and spreading the salt to make sure the folks don't slip.
And just for the record, the recommendation from staff is for the leaves, total logistics staffing is the recommended bidder.
It is.
That, for those who are gonna make the motion. And as we've done in previous years, because of the need to have multiple options throughout the season, the recommendation from staff is that we approve all of the bidders for snow removal. And when they deploy those resources, they always start with the lowest bid first, and they make their way by priority based on the bid amount.
That's correct.
So those would be the recommended motions for the next part of the meeting.
Item G on my report is something that just passed through the Public Works Committee unanimously on October, I believe, the 2nd, and that is a realignment of the current plan for the linear trail where it goes from Aircraft Road to the town of Plainville line. Right now, the current plan is proposed, the town-sponsored plan, which the state of Connecticut has, and the state of Connecticut working on, is to stop at Aircraft Road, go west, then go north through a kind of access road, cross it towards the bottom of West Queen Street over the 3 lanes of traffic, and then walk or then do east West Queen Street to Redstone, and then go on Redstone for quite some time. And at that point, it drops off at the Plainville line. At the last Public Works meeting, the police chief had serious concerns, and actually, I believe, I don't know if he said he was appalled, but he had very strong words that he didn't want the public crossing at the bottom of West Queen Street due to the fact that it's almost it's almost a limited highway down there. And he thought that the new proposed plan that our engineering department has come up with is much safer and makes a lot more sense, because the crossing of West Queen would be around the area of the TD Bank and American Eagle, where there's presently a few stop signs in that area. The new proposed plan for the sponsor of the town of Southington would go straight from Aircraft Road, stay on the linear trail all the way, scoop around Yard Meadows, go onto Birch Street, and then stop at the Plainville line. Now, the reason why this plan wasn't proposed prior was that the railroad that owned that right-of-way had no interest in giving the town or selling to the town or state that access. That railway recently sold, and we've been in communications with the new heads of real estate over there, and they're vetting and verifying it, and they led us to believe that there's no reason they wouldn't entertain an offer from the state to purchase those rights. So right now,
Or at least lease them.
yeah, get us the rights somehow. So the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation will work on whatever plan the town wants to work on. So right now, the Public Works Committee voted unanimously to change the current sponsor plan and go to this new plan, which you've got an outline and a map there. So I'm willing to take any questions on that. I know Mr. Del Santo was there as well, and I think
It was
he-
unanimous.
It was unanimous.
And the new plan eliminates the potential to be in front of the two residents' homes. That was an issue early on. It also eliminates going in front of Yard Metal's truck entrance, which Yard Metal's objected to.
Two of them.
Two entrances. So, keeping the trail on the train tracks is, obviously a very good option if we can make it happen, and that's what's being proposed.
And there is no urgency for this. Right now, we're stopped at Aircraft Road. The town of Plainville has dozens of rights-of-way that it needs to secure before they can connect to Sellington. So there's going to be, probably not in our lifetimes, a connection. I don't see there foreseeing there being a connection in our lifetimes. So there's really no sense of urgency to rush this to get it done to the Plainville line just for the sake of getting it done. Because once we get to Plainville, we're not going anywhere else. We're stopping. So there's no rush.
Years and years, we've been told.
Mr. Chair.
Jack, please.
So I would agree, but also disagree with that, because once it's there, it kind of applies pressure to Plainville. Right now, they're saying, well, Southington's not there yet, so, we have time, but once we get there, I think it's the ball's in their court to hold them to getting it done. My only question is, so once it goes on to Birch Street, it looks like it goes through Sunrise Communities. Is that the road or behind the units?
The proposal right now is that Yard Metals, so it would hit Birch Street, go north on Birch Street until it got to Garden Street. And then from Garden Street, it could terminate and wait to see where Plainville picks up on the Plainville border from Town Line Road. Or Yard Metals has indicated that if we keep it on the trail, they're willing to work with us on some sort of arrangement that allows the trail to go on their property, on Yard Metals property, so behind those homes. And on the Yard Metals property, which is underutilized right now, it's an open space for them, and would basically traverse parallel to Garden Street all the way to Redstone Hill Road, and then pick up from Redstone Hill Road and go north to Town Line Road. The other option is it could stop at Garden Street and wait for Plainville, and maybe it should continue on up Birch Street to 177 at the intersection there, and then decide, if Plainville may come down, with all the stuff that they've got going on. 177, where Norton Park is, they have a ton of issues from the park north and south, quite frankly. Getting from the park south is even difficult. So we could kind of, develop up to that point and then see what happens, or go on the Yard Metals property, finish that, and if we have to move it at some point in the future, obviously it can be done years later, but there's options. And I think the options there are really good because, they avoid a lot of the complications that we've had in the past.
And just, it's $1 million just to rebuild the current bridge that would have to be done on that little access road. There's a tree company there and one of our pump stations for the sewer plants there. But it's $1 million
Aircraft, yeah.
just to rebuild that bridge, and that $1 million would go a long way to actually paving and grading.
Councilwoman DiPaolo, did you have something?
Just, so what's the process from here?
We just have to approve the change of our plan so that we can then instruct staff to communicate it to the Department of Transportation.
So using,
The alternative
approving
plan.
that?
The alternative plan, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Town Manager, item H.
Item H, This is an 824 referral to planning and zoning, purchase of properties at 2240 and 52 Main Street and 60 Center Street, commonly known as 22 Main Street, Bank of America. So the town of Southington right now is under contract to purchase that property to preserve the parking and ancillary uses. Connecticut statute requires prior to closing that the Planning and Zoning Commission provide a recommendation or a not recommendation regarding the purchase. It's not binding, but it's just required to go through the motion, so they have jurisdiction to opine on that purchase.
Any questions on that?
Hearing none. And the last item is tax refund discussion to increase the dollar amount of tax manager approvals. There is no written rule that we can come up with, but I've been told that the town manager, since John Weissel has been here, has had the authority to issue refunds of overpayment of taxes, $50 or less. So I'm not suggesting a dollar amount. However, $500 or $1,000, if the town council is comfortable, would eliminate most of the administrative work for the assessor's department to come in and provide memos to the town council at every meeting to give back $59 to someone who paid their car taxes. The leasing company paid it, and then they paid it. It's just a lot of administrative. It's a request, no suggestions, but I'd leave it for someone to make a motion if they want to increase that unofficial $50 to an official number, so we're in line. So I appreciate it, and that concludes my report.
Who has questions on the tax abatement?
Just quick
Yeah,
question.
Councilwoman DiPaolo.
Do you know what other municipalities might do at all?
They're all over the place. We don't see this many tax refunds when we look at the minutes of other
Other
folks.
meetings.
They're few and far between. It's just it's a
So maybe it's
formality.
being done administratively then.
Yeah, we believe it's being done administratively almost everywhere.
So the request is to think about what's the number that we want to put on that we would give administrative rights to the town manager and staff. Okay? Is there a number that you are seeking, Mr. Town Manager?
I'm just taking a peek at the current number tonight. The current numbers tonight. You've got 2.5 pages. Most of them are under 100. Majority under 500, and almost every one of them is under 1,000, except for the last page, which is about 10. So,
Okay.
my suggestion is 1,000 in that area.
Okay, food for thought for later in the meeting. Okay, are we done with the town manager's report,
We
Mr.
are.
Town Manager? Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions for the town manager's report, we will move on to the town attorney's report. Mr. Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As the town manager just announced or just mentioned, my report is limited to the former Bank of America property, or is known as Bank of America property, located at 22 Main Street. I'm happy to report, as I think the entire council knows by now, that we were the successful bidder. The contract was awarded to us. We have gone under contract, and the deposit was wired, I believe, this morning, and receipt was acknowledged. So we are now underway doing our due diligence, the survey, the title search, looking at the phase one. I don't anticipate any issues thus far from what I've seen, and I will continue to keep the council apprised of what's happening as it moves along. If all goes as expected, we should close on this property in December. Having just been awarded, and more importantly, the deposit just made, we don't have an actual date, but it should be early December for the closing. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Anybody have questions on the town attorney's report? Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item 8, public communications. We invite the public to come on up. If somebody can maybe just, the first person can come up can shut the laptop so it's not in the way, and you could pull that microphone nice and close. Public communications is open to all residents of Southington, so we would ask that you state your name and address for the record, and each person will have up to 5 minutes to discuss whatever they want.
Good evening. My name is Megan Mealy. I live at 545 West Street. I wanted to thank the town attorney for his comments earlier in the meeting, just so that everyone could be on the same page regarding the issue that I've come to talk about. So I'm here to speak about the mural honoring Martin Luther King Jr. that was created by this community just 3 short years ago. This artwork, featuring children of color from within our town, is so much more than just paint on a wall. It represents Southington's commitment to diversity, inclusivity, and the values that Dr. King stood for. While I recognize that this mural is on private property and that its fate is directly within the council's control, I do urge you to consider its profound importance to our entire community. The mural is a source of pride and a visual representation of our values. My own children comment on the mural every time we drive through that part of town. They fondly recall the party where we dedicated the mural right in the YMCA parking lot where they went to school. My 6-year-old daughter loves to reinforce her own connections to the mural, saying things like, "You know that boy's mom, right? And that girl does martial arts just like Colin did. And Mom, you helped paint the lines on that wall." They're only 6 and 10, but they know the mural is a community creation, both in its content and in the effort it took for its creation. Removing it would be a disservice to all the youth in our town and would send a disturbing message, even if that is not the intent. To be honest, I don't think I could go home and look my children in the eye tonight if I didn't at least come here and speak to the mural for the joy and the interest I see them show in it. Last night, online on Facebook, I saw mockery with a photoshopped picture of the mural and celebrations online from individuals who clearly see the removal of the Unity mural as a victory for their overtly harmful racist views. These people that were in the comment sections, some of which names I definitely recognized, were very, very clear that this mural is an affront to their desire to maintain Southington as a town of their majority. So while it is not the council's job to dictate the use of private property, nor would I want it to be, I would argue it is very much within the council's purview to promote community, unity, and inclusion while discouraging actions that are harmful to its people. This is harmful. As a result, I implore each of you to advocate for maintaining this mural, to vocally support efforts to keep it as part of our town's landscape, and to stand against actions that would undermine Southington's purported commitment to diversity and inclusion. Other walls have been offered for the animal mural, so let's advocate for the best possible of all solutions, having both pieces of art. In a world where there are far too many eyesores, let's embrace more art and beauty, not less. If this plan goes forward, I can only imagine the things that will be said about Southington, not only locally, but also on a national and a global scale. I hope we can work together to ensure our community remains a place where everyone feels represented and valued, and where art is celebrated, not covered. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Megan. Come on up, don't be shy. It's okay. We want to hear from you.
It's okay. Do you want me to read it for you? Do you want me to go first? And then you think about it?
Absolutely.
All right.
Come on up. And if you would like, you could sit there or stand.
You come right by me, buddy.
Just remember, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Caitlin Gelfand. I live at 51 Cloverdale Road in Southington. Quite literally, the least any of our elected officials in this room can do is publicly show support for this Southington Unity mural. This council, first turned away the chance to show Southington residents that you work and care for every single one of us, not just the ones who look like most of you. Do not let that opportunity pass you by again. Let the real Southington children on that mural know that they are seen. Show the kids who look like them that they are appreciated, welcomed, and valued. Show their parents that their family is an important part of our community. Show the residents of this town that our council members value them and no longer equate them to black olives. While I respect that the building where the mural resides is private property, this isn't really about property rights and contracts. It is about being a strong community that urges each other to do the right thing. I have kept close track of this project since it was first proposed here, and I know that it was not intended to be a rotating mural. Leave this beautiful community-made art where it is. Representation matters. I know how my heart feels when I see positive Jewish representation. I see the smile my son gets when Hanukkah decorations hit the shelves. I saw the joy and relief he felt when he finally wasn't the only Jewish kid in class last year. I know how it stings to hear stereotypes and generalizations. Clearly, we are white-presenting people, and yet we still don't feel sure about how loudly we can be ourselves in this town. I know how it feels when I notice someone staring at my Star of David necklace, but a person of color can't take off a necklace to feel safer in this town like I can. The very least you can do is let them know that they are seen, they are welcome here, and that you value them. You want me to read it, or you got it? You got this. You want me to do it? Is it okay if I read his for
Absolutely.
Okay. This is Malachi, my son.
Hi, Malachi.
He is 8, and he is a very proud Southington resident. And what he wrote here says, I heavily support the Southington Unity mural. The kids in the mural are real kids in Southington. Getting painted over would make them feel unimportant. This mural is made to show love and joy. Dogs are nice, but real kids are way more important. I want to support the kids in the mural because they are a part of our community. Amazing.
Thank you, Malachi.
So great.
Okay. Good evening. Name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Christina Marie Baca Rodriguez Sims, and I live at 359 Pattonwood Drive. I state my identity because I'm a light-skinned Latina that's lived here for 21 years. And because I pass, I have heard many off-color jokes, no pun intended. I stand here before you and ask, why does Southington refer to itself as the city of progress when we have so many steps that we need to take to move forward and progress towards a unity and inclusion? We also don't even function like a city. It's interesting that tonight's prayer was about looking out and giving us the strength to protect all Southington residents. Throughout my time working in this town, I was invited to participate in 2 initiatives aimed at fostering equity and diversity. The first was with the school district, which after 2 years of dedicated effort and meetings and conversation was shut down abruptly. Then, the town council asked us to form a task force. Our work was once again halted shortly after it began. This feels like checking boxes when it's convenient. If we were genuinely committed to this work, to a city of progress, we wouldn't be in the position we are today. We would have equity, inclusion, and unity. Now we find ourselves discussing a mural that represents hope and embodies unity, a mural that many of us in this community have longed for. It sends a powerful message: we see you. It acknowledges that Southington's not an all-white town, and that's a beautiful thing. It was created by local residents, and this mural reflects our collective values and is supported by over 1,000 people who just want it to stay. Instead of seeking ways to erase it, we should embrace it with pride. Covering this mural would be like silencing important voices, those of our Black and brown community members who live here, despite racist remarks, despite a history of being a sundown town. Consider the implications of erasing a public art on Route 10. Such actions would convey harmful messages about whose stories and identities truly matter. This mural is not just art. It's a celebration of who we want to be as a community. So ask yourself, why wasn't this painted on a town building? As leaders, you have an obligation and a responsibility to address the issue. Now is not the time for excuses or to say it's not our problem because it's on private property. You must take action against racism that exists in our town. Racism is not just part of our past, but it's present in our reality today. For those who doubt this, I urge you to follow platforms like Southington Talks Freely, where racist sentiments are openly shared, highly encouraged, and enjoyed with laughter. That's the town that we're in. As leaders, I implore you to do the next right thing. How can town council honor the mural? Maybe on a town building. It's your job to find a way. We voted you here, now you find the way.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Elise Brown, and I live on 115 Chickalella Court. As a 7th grade student of DePaulo Middle School, I think that it is ironic that tomorrow we are encouraged to wear orange for Unity Day to encourage kindness, acceptance, and illusion, and to build community through the years. Yet a mural that I am on, that my family is on, has the risk of being taken down. Over by animals, dead animals. I feel lonely in this town. I don't have much brown-skinned friends, and that makes me feel sad and upset. But this mural makes me feel like that I belong, and that my skin is beautiful, and that I am proud to be brown-skinned. As town leaders, I ask that you will not fail us. Do something, speak up, be voices, and make this mural stay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Please come on up and state your name and address for the record. Going once? Okay.
I'm actually a resident of the town of West Hartford.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so would anybody else like to read my statement for me? It's beautifully written. Amazing, thank you. I figured as much.
Thank you.
But thank you for trying to silence me. Thank you so much. Sure. Okay, so.
Ma'am, just please state your name and address for the record, okay?
Where do you want me to start? You can just say your name and your address, and then I'm here to start and share my thoughts. Yeah. Do you want to say your name? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lily Human. I live at 9 Hickory Hill, number 9.
Thank you.
So I'm here to share my thoughts on the debate surrounding the removal of the Southington Unity mural. As a longtime animal rights activist, pet lover, and rescuer, artist, and someone who will lose my own fur baby in the near future, I love the idea of a mural that commemorates the lost pets of this town. I love even more that this proposed public art project would serve as a fundraiser for the Southington Animal Control, and frankly, I'd personally be interested in paying for a portrait of my own childhood cat, Oliver, to be featured on it. It all sounds beautiful, so it's hard to imagine how something so positive could actually be so divisive and send such a powerfully negative message to and about the town of Southington, Connecticut. I am here tonight to show support for African-American lead artist Amita Roller, Rise Up for Arts, and each and every adult and child who took part in painting this community masterpiece and or is beautifully depicted on it. Oops. The joyful painting currently located at 70 North Main Street is an integral piece of the racial equity mural tour by Connecticut Murals and Rise Up for Arts, in which they are partnering with 39 communities across Connecticut to create 39 murals, one for each year of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. It is our duty here tonight to consider how this affects the broader mission and what type of precedent we are setting for other towns who have taken part in this tour and currently have MLK 39 murals displayed. As a mural artist myself, I can assure you that you're going to be hard-pressed to find an artist willing to attach themselves to this. And even if you do find someone to paint this new proposed mural, who's to say that in 3 years the building owner won't again unilaterally decide when these families will have to mourn their departed pets once again. In my opinion, this looks like a transparent attempt to use something we can all agree on, our love of animals, to cover up something that we don't all agree on, the worth of black and brown lives. And I feel that the underlying motive behind this new proposed mural became blatantly clear when other local building owners came forward to offer their business walls to house this new mural instead, but Serafino has insisted it must be this specific wall. The existing mural also features a quote from the late Mary DeCroix, who founded Southington Community Cultural Arts in 2016 and actively supported the mural's evolution from idea to reality. Sadly, Mary passed away 13 days before the mural was unveiled, but it is a large part of her legacy. What kind of message are we sending about the values of our town if the living, breathing black children of our community are painted over with animals who have passed? And how do we explain to these children why cats and dogs are more important than them? The current mural, literally entitled Building a Community for All, celebrates the diversity of the town. The children depicted on the mural eagerly bring their out-of-town relative to see it when they visit, stating proudly, "Look, that's me. This representation matters." If I understand correctly, the building owner, Ron Serafino, has recently lost his pet, and I'm so sorry for his loss. Truly, I grieve for him and alongside everyone here who has lost a beloved animal companion. But I don't think that justifies the damaging message we are sending to our town's historically marginalized population. Just like all of you here, I heard the town lawyer state that ultimately it's up to Ron Serafino to decide what is and isn't painted on his building, and that I'm basically wasting my breath. But I'll leave you with this. Ron Serafino agreeing to put up the Southington Unity mural only to take it down 3 years later does more damage to the ongoing fight for racial equity than never having installed the mural at all. Thank you for your time. I trust the City of Progress will do the right thing, and remember that there is room for everyone here in Southington, Connecticut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Others?
Hi, Susan Zabahansky, 28 Working Street. I just want to clarify something that's been going through the news and this woman from out of town also perpetuated. The money that's being raised by Mr. Serafino is of his own doing. It has nothing to do with the town of Southington's animal control. Mr. Serafino decided what he wanted to do with his own building. There was a contract in place. The contract ended, so to me, it's sad that whoever originally entered into this contract didn't allow everyone, that to be transparent to everyone, because it's now causing division in the town. But I do want to make it clear that Friends of Southington Animal Control is a 501c3 charity separate of the Southington Animal Control. It has nothing to do with Southington Animal Control, except that we do help some pets in the community. And we also help fund community services. We help get them food for people in need for their pets so they can keep their pets in their home and not overload our animal control. So I want to make that clear because I noticed that on the change.org thing, it mentioned that the money is being raised for animal control. Animal control is a town entity and independent of Mr. Serafino, except that he does volunteer there and loves animals and spends a lot of time there. So I want to make that clear. And it's to me, the unfortunate thing is that when this mural was put up, it wasn't made public to the people that there was a contract entered into. But I also wanted to make sure that people know that this does not involve the town of Southington. Thank you.
Regina Coviello, 12 Beecher Street. I'm here tonight to talk about the controversy surrounding the MLK 39 mural. I would first like to read you something that a resident and a SHS student who graduated this year and asked me to read because he was unable to be here. These are his words. Growing up as a minority in a town like Southington was challenging. It took me a long time to come to terms with my difference, often blaming myself for it. During my 4 years as an athlete at the high school, I was one of the very few players of color. Racist comments became a distressing norm that I learned to endure. When the mural was unveiled in our town, it provided the reputation I had hoped for, making me feel accepted, heard, and understood. I remember driving past it with my brother and pointing out the lacrosse player on the mural, and I said to him, "That looks like us." It was a powerful moment, one I wished I could have experienced more often. The mural was a much-needed acknowledgement of my presence in a community that often lacked representation. It reminded me that my community saw me, heard me, and stood with me in solidarity. That's what he wrote. So as you can see, this mural is not just a painting on a wall, it is a symbolism of solidarity. The mural is a part of the statewide initiative of honoring and memorializing Martin Luther King Jr. It is one of 39 across Connecticut. What kind of message is it sending to the residents of our town, state, and country about Southington if it is replaced? Replacing it with dogs is just plain offensive. If you don't understand the symbolism of this, then look it up. I understand that the building is privately owned and that the lease is up. I myself and others would like to work with everyone to come up with a solution. I myself will help fundraise to keep the mural up and fundraise for Friends of Animal Control to have a mural on another wall in town. Normally, when a lease comes up, the one who signed the contract has first option to renew it. So I and many others have asked who signed this contract, and we have received no answers. So who is it? Why weren't those in and involved with the mural notified before finding out on social media? Someone posted on social media that there was a fundraiser for Friends of Animal Control to paint over the existing mural and replace it with pictures of dogs. Yet when they were contacted and on social media, they said they weren't involved. Yet supposedly they already have raised funds and have pictures in the works. There were some residents that didn't like the mural from the beginning. Some of them are part of Friends of Animal Control. Something just doesn't fit here. I'm a lifelong 3rd out of 5 generation resident of Southington. I am tired of hearing racist comments and actions in this town. I am tired of seeing my friends and family move out of this town because how they have been treated. And you have to explain to a child who asks you why their best friend is being bullied and hurt because of the color of their skin, something needs to be changed. Stop denying that it exists here in Southington. People here aren't stupid. So you, as representatives of all residents here, do what you will, but remember what I have said to you tonight. I'd like this to be entered into tonight's minutes.
Anybody else like to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Lily Human, I live at 9 Hickory Hill. I can appreciate what people are saying about
Just want to remind you, you probably have a couple minutes because you did speak already, so thanks.
About the contract, and I agree with the idea that someone suggested is like, if it really is a legal issue, why not find a more honorable position for the mural, like that the town could support, like it has already been suggested?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joan Hurley. I live at 123 Curtis Street. I was here for the town council prayer, which asked for guidance to do what is right, just, and appropriate. And so what I would like to do tonight is shine a light on the evasive dismissals that have been discussed about covering black and brown children who are town residents with images of animals. Optics are important. Your influence as members of the town council is needed to secure the public perception of Southington as a true city of progress in order to move away from its growing reputation as a sundown town. The preservation of the mural is crucial to fostering a more inclusive and equitable community. The mural is very symbolic. Its very existence depicts a theme of historical and cultural racial progress, of a fair and just society, like we've prayed for, of equal access, opportunity, and representation. Further, the art has the power to challenge biases and inspire dialogue. Art is essential to celebrate diversity in all its forms. Morally, our responsibility as citizens of a democracy is to uplift historically marginalized voices and recognize and celebrate the contributions of all community members. Make no mistake, the plan to cover black and brown children with dogs is actively and subordinatively racist. The desire to cover a mural depicting black and brown children can stem from a variety of social and cultural factors. Several key reasons could be racial discomfort. Some residents may feel uncomfortable with representations that challenge the predominantly white identity of the town. This discomfort can manifest as resistance to multicultural expressions in public art. However, there's been a lack of good faith regarding the mural and the contract's end. The melanin moms in town were pivotal to the creation and realization of the Unity mural, yet no one has reached out to them or to rise up to discuss the plan to paint over the mural with images of animals. Historically, black and brown people in the United States have been considered animals in the distant past. This imagery and this symbolism is very much a part of the kind of optics our town will be connected to from here on in. You have influence. You need to talk about it, and you need to make everyone aware. The disingenuous denials have been expressed about the racism inherent in painting over a mural of Southington children of color. To claim it's solely about property rights contradicts the very plan to paint over the mural with images of animals. There's a fear of change. There's also a misunderstanding of intent. Some community members may interpret the mural's message or intent, viewing it as politically charged or as promoting a specific agenda rather than simply and intentionally celebrating diversity. Community dynamics also play a role, as do cultural narratives. Research shows that communities often cling to narratives that reinforce their own identities and the dominant identities of the town. A mural depicting children of color may challenge these narratives, leading some to push back against it. The desire to cover the mural is likely tied to deeper issues of racial identity, of community dynamics, of resistance to change, and reflect ongoing tensions in our society and our town, representing representation and inclusion. Ethically, we as a society must strive to create environments that uphold these responsibilities. Maintaining this mural aligns with the principles of justice and equality, reinforcing the ideal that every individual background deserves visibility and representation. By preserving the mural as is, the town can demonstrate its commitment to progress and foster a culture of acceptance, inclusion, and representative diversity, ultimately enriching the community for everyone. And finally, there is vision and impact that needs to be addressed, something that's missing from the unofficial conversations that are occurring online and in person. This issue is not simple. It's very complex. Certainly, we all know someone's private property is private property and they can do with it as they wish, but there is certainly an underlying message here. There has been no acknowledgement that the plan to paint over the existing mural be a literal, historical, and symbolic erasure of Southington's black residents that are represented in the mural.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
Tom Catricella, 204 Stonegate Road. I'm here to speak on the MLK Unity mural off of North Main Street and in support of the many black and brown families who have made Southington their home over the last couple of decades. As a grandchild of Italian-American immigrants who are also told that they don't belong, I think representation is a good thing. It was a big deal to include a mural of black and brown children from Southington for all to celebrate. It's something we should be proud of and not ashamed of. I'm not going to pretend like I had a huge part in the creation of the mural. I only painted a small part in the corner and some lines. But when I showed up that day, I saw the smiling faces of the children who were represented in that mural. Happy, engaged, excited, black and brown children. The pride that came with the acknowledgement that Southington was their home. That these children could finally feel like they were represented in a, until very recently, entirely white town. It's absolutely true that the owner, Ron Serafino, of the building can do whatever he wants. However, what does it say about our town that a vocal minority think a painting of animals is more representative of Southington than one of black people? It says that they want to keep it that way. Let me be clear. By covering up this mural, one of the only depictions of people of color in our town, it reinforces the image that Southington is already known for locally and nationally, that Southington is for whites only. If you don't want to be known as that racist town, then say something. Support the preservation of this mural. Use the power of your microphone in the bully pulpit to advocate for a diverse and welcoming Southington. Other business owners have offered their walls, and there have been plenty of other options thrown out. This mural is a reminder that Southington values its black and brown residents. It's a project of love that emphatically says, no, we as the town of Southington welcome black children and black families because we understand that diversity is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue, you already spoke once. Less than a minute, please.
I have less than a minute. So we let someone else come up.
You have
who
less than a
spoke
minute.
twice. I know I have less than a minute. So I want to be clear. I just want clarification because there's a lot of misinformation being spread. There's only one person involved in the decision making of how he wants his wall to be done. That's Ron Serafino.
Thank you.
And I also want to say that Ron Serafino is the person who allowed this mural to be put up. So now we're calling Ron Serafino a racist, even though he allowed this mural to be put up when no one else would.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else want to come up next?
I didn't finish my time either, so.
Regina,
I didn't finish my time.
you were at about 5 minutes.
No, I didn't. That buzzer
You-
did not
I'll give
go
you-
off.
I'll give you-
This woman
Regina.
has done this number of times.
Regina,
Number
I
of
will
times.
give you a minute. Excuse me, ma'am. Ms. Hurley.
That is the trouble.
Okay, why don't we take a recess? Town council's in recess. Thanks, everybody. We're going to come back in 10 minutes. Matt.
from what I've just heard that none of us knew. The decision was already made. It's already in the progress. So why did someone not tell everyone that it's already past that? So every comment, everything that was made here tonight, it didn't matter. Did not matter. And as far as personal property, you can do what you want. Like I just said, I can't do that on my house. Can I paint a mural on my house? I don't think so. And I can hear people talking in the back. No, you can't, because if you do anything and you have to go through planning and zoning, and if there are neighbors that do not like it, find it offensive, doesn't fit in with the neighborhood, then it is denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coviello. Okay, anybody else would like to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Chantal Brown, 115 Chickalella Court. I have nothing written, but I'm going to speak from my heart. I wanted to clarify some things. I moved to this town 6 years ago, and as a professional registered nurse, I felt the need for representation in this town where people of color feel seen and heard, and even kids could relate. More so because I have young kids as well. So I put myself in positions where even outside of my box of being an oncology nurse, where children will see a person of color in a professional setting. So one of the things I did when I moved here was I still work as a nurse at Camp Sloper, because I want those little kids that come up with little boo-boos to see that there are people of color in professional spaces, because I felt like that was not seen in this town. Another thing I did was formed Melanin Moms of Southington. And I was there when contracts were signed. I was present when we decided as a group what would go on that mural. I understand what's written on the contract, and there are people who are saying what was on a contract that was not there, or may not have even seen the contract. So respectfully, I ask that the same way I'm speaking of things that I'm very sure of, that if you choose to say something, you are pretty sure of
Ms.
what
Brown,
you're saying.
just direct it to us so that we keep the temperature down. Thank you. I don't want things to get out of control by pointing comments at the other people in the audience. Thank you.
So as someone in the Melanin Moms, we came to a decision with Mary and Rise Up in regards to what is going to be on that mural. And it was fully accepted by everybody, including the town, the members of the town, not necessarily the town council. From what we understand, Mary came to the town council to bring forth this idea of the mural, and the town council wanted nothing to do with it. So that's when Mary had sourced her funds, her grants. She had the donated space, and it was just up to us to implement it. The day was beautiful. The unveiling ceremony, I don't know if any of you guys there, it was a beautiful day. The weather was perfect. We felt Mary's spirit there. And even though I don't know Ron Serafino personally, from what I understand from people, he has already made a long-lasting legacy in this town. And for it to come to something like this where it's changing what the legacy would or should be, it's really sad that it would come to that. So I implore you guys as leaders of this town to stand up for what you think is right and have some kind of input so that the mural can stay there. And I believe that two things could exist in this town. So therefore, the ones of the deceased animals could exist as well, and we would all honor that peacefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Mr. Chair? So I have something that I want to state, and I don't know if you want me to go down to the podium. Based on the town attorney's comments earlier, I don't want this to be perceived that I'm using or abusing my official elected.
Before you go, should we ask the rest of the community if there's anybody else who wants to speak, and we'll
Yeah.
allow you to go last? Is that okay?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Is there anybody else that's here that would like to speak before the councilman gets the final? Anybody? On anything, any topic that anybody would like to talk to tonight? Ms. Sims, anybody else want to talk? We're going to close the microphone here if anybody else has any other topics. Last call? Okay, Jack, please.
Would you like me to go there, or am I fine here?
You're fine.
Okay. So obviously, I'm an elected official, but I think it's important as community leaders that we engage with the community. So I prepared this statement, and again, I was a little turned off earlier when the town attorney stated that, it's kind of a gray area or whatnot, so I was waiting for public communications to read this. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about proposal to replace the Martin Luther King 39 mural with a new one to help raise funds. I'm sure you all saw my post last week on this issue. I feel this isn't just any mural. It shows the faces of black and brown kids from our community, and it represents the diverse youth who are our future of our town. Taking down something so meaningful to members of our community is concerning, so it is the lack of communication and change management. This mural is more than just a piece of art. It reflects our community values, diversity, and possibility of replacing it with something that doesn't hold the same cultural weight should make us pause and think about what we really value as a town. So I want to reiterate my ask for the good of the community that everyone involved, including the property owner, the original organizers, and the families of the kids featured in this mural, to come together and talk this through. We should try to find a compromise that doesn't erase this cultural expression but respects and preserves the diversity of Southington. Our town is stronger when we embrace diversity and have open conversations. By involving everyone, especially those most affected, we uphold the values that I believe make this community special. I believe that by working together, we can find a solution that honors who we are and keeps us as united in our diversity. Thank you.
Jack, thank you very much. Okay, with that, we are going to close public communications, and we're going to move on to old business. Item number 9, action on hotel tax abatement, 17 West Street.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve. We heard a lot of information about this project. I will add the stipulation for the abatement only, not for the project, with regards to the borrowing of any outdoor porticos or balconies or anything along those lines.
And with that, I'll
Okay, and that it's an Avid Flag hotel. Those are the stipulations.
With that, I'll second that.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion on the hotel tax abatement program? Jack, please.
Yes, I just want to, commend Lou Perillo, our economic developer, for obviously trying to, highest and best use, so hats off to him for that. He does a phenomenal job, and Southington's blessed to have him.
Thank you. Anybody else?
The only other thing I want to add, I really appreciate everyone on the Economic Strike Committee. Jack, Chris, and Wayne Stanforth, and Bob Hammersley. It's such a great group, and we have business like-minded, and we stand up for businesses in town and for the advancement and economic development. That's exactly what this whole subcommittee is all about. So I applaud everyone that sits on that board, and it's a really good group. I think we all put our heads together and come up with some good ideas. And thanks to Lou as well.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Okay, if there's no other comments and the remote participants can unmute themselves, we're going to call the roll on this, Madam Clerk.
Dazik,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item B, action on, congratulations, good luck. Item B, action on the report of Board of Finance.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve
I'll second.
and a second from Mr. Del Santo. Any discussion on the Board of Finance report? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 8-0. Item C, action on recommendation for the fall leaf pickup vac-all rental.
I'll make a motion to approve, accept all the VACOL bids as they'll be used in order of low to high bids.
Is that what we want? Or we wanted
I think the
total
vac-all-
logistics staffing, I think was
Yeah, I
it.
think there's just one valve.
I would say.
Oh, you're doing
I'm
just the
reading
vac-alls.
vac-all.
Yep, good.
Yeah.
So,
Item
yeah, so we
C.
have a motion on the vac-all bids.
Second.
Sorry, Chris.
Yep,
And Mr. Del Santo seconds. The motion is to approve all the vac-all bids in order of lowest to highest bid. And any other discussion on that? Okay, why don't we call the roll on all of these recommendations, Madam Clerk?
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item D, action on recommendation for fall leaf pickup temporary labor. Chris?
I'll make a motion to recommend awarding the temporary labor contract to Total Logistics Staffing.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Jack. Any discussions? Okay, hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item E, action on recommendation for snow plowing equipment for streets and parking lots.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Mr. Del Santo, second from Councilwoman DiPaolo. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, call the roll.
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item F, action on recommendation for snow removal equipment for streets and parking lots.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item G, action on recommendation for snow removal equipment for school access walks.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item H, action on linear trail option for Aircraft Road to Plainville Town Line. Here, we're looking for a motion to change the town's plan from the original plan that's passed to now the new plan that stays on the railway to Birch Street
I'll make a motion to approve that as presented, the map as presented.
as presented.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman DiPaolo and Councilman Del Santo. We have a motion and a second. Let's call the roll on this one too, please, Madam Clerk.
Dedzek,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes, motion passes 8-0. Item I, action on 8-24 referral to planning and zoning, purchase of properties at 22, 40, and 52 Main Street and 60 Center Street, also known as 22 Main Street, Bank of America property. We're looking for a motion to refer this to planning and zoning.
I'll make a motion to send back a referral, 8-24 referral to planning and zoning.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second from Councilwoman DiPaolo. Discussion on the 824 referral?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I'm going to recuse myself on this vote because I've recused myself on the prior votes for this, just because of potential conflict of interest.
Sounds good. So Mr. Perry is going to recuse. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, call the roll, Madam Clerk, please.
Diedrich,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
No.
Clock,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Chaplinsky.
Yes, the motion passes 7-0-1. I'm sorry, 7-1,
6-1.
6-1-1.
Well, not, he didn't abstain, he recused, so he's out.
6-1-0. Correct?
Let me get my Robert's.
Yeah, because there's no, you didn't vote, you just abstained, right?
Yeah.
So it's 6-1-1.
Well, there was an abstention, so.
Right.
Abstention
Yeah.
is the
So he's
same as
abstaining.
recusing?
Did you recuse or abstain? You're recusing yourself.
Yeah, I'm recusing myself.
So it's 6-1,
Oh, you're right.
6-1-0, yeah. Okay, sorry for the confusion. Item J, action on tax refund discussion to increase the dollar amount of town manager approval. We're at $50 right now, do we,
I'll make a motion to increase the tax dollar amount to $1,000 for the town manager
Second.
for his recommendation.
okay. A motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, you're taking my job away.
I was gonna
but-
say,
No,
yeah.
no, I think this is,
Couple left, there's a couple left.
no, I think this is the right move, especially today, the amount that we have, a lot of those should just be done administratively.
Any other discussion? My only request is to the town manager, if you can make sure that we have a strong 4 eyes principle. If we're doing this administratively, I'd ask that you set up a policy that has at least 2 people reviewing these and signing off on these when they're done. Double sign off.
Assessor signs and then I sign as well.
Thank you. Okay, so any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Bill?
No opposition.
So motion passes 8-0. Sorry, I jumped the gun here a little bit. Okay, item 10, new business. Item A, tax refunds.
Mr. Chair, it may be a while since I make this motion, but.
Your swan song, take it.
I make a motion to approve the tax refunds that are presented in our packets.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve the tax refunds and a second from Councilman Del Santo. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 8-0, passes 8-0. Anybody on the phone take issue with the tax refunds? Okay.
No.
Item B, appointments. I'm looking for a motion to table the Board of
Motion to
Assessments.
table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0 to table the Board of Assessment Appeals, 1-member, 4-year term expiring October 2028.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn into executive session, barring the press and the public, but keeping the town manager and the town attorney.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We are now in executive session. Thanks. Well, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to clear the room.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you want me in executive